All right, welcome back, baseball fans, to another elimination video. Today we're going to eliminate the Atlanta Braves. What you're looking at is last year's team that went all the way to the League Championship Series as a wild card. Barely made the playoffs with an average record. Went to the LCS. They were 30-24 when they arrived. And they got swept 4 straight by, well, the Cincinnati Reds. And humbled them. And when you look at it all together, you see 265, 261. They were +4 in the run column. Hitting 258 with a 389 ERA. Gar batting 84 hits. Kind of a batting championship kind of card there. Hank Aaron had 22 homers and 68 RBIs. Somehow he got red hot, and it's funny because early MVP voting gave Johnny Bench the MVP, and Hank Aaron actually passed him statistically, but ran out of gas by the time the LCS was underway. The other big homer hitters, Davey Johnson had 11, Darrell Evans had 9. Though the batting averages aren't particularly great here, a 258 offense. On base is just 324. Thought you'd get more on base at least with all the walks his team draws. The pitching, Tom House was able to close everything out. Bob Miller did a great job setting him up. Buzz Capra got the wins, lead the club, but the ERAs are not that good, as you can see. Nico lost 11 games. Most of that came early. Redeemed himself as the season would go on into the playoffs. And it was a team that overachieved, frankly, to get to that point. Now, this past year, it changed in that they're 30-22, but they tore it up in the second half and actually looked like the team of 2 years ago, which was the #1 seed in the sport. Not to mention that this particular year, and only this particular year, they can have or had 8 cards of the year of 73 and 6 cards of the year 74. And if you max out the hitting of 73 and the pitching of 74, you have some of the best Atlanta staffs hitting and pitching of the entire decade. They were able to almost get all of those pieces. You see, Tepedino led the club in hitting. He was a 304 hitter. Gar was a batting champion. Now he's got 86 hits. Overachieving Vic Carrell with 8 homers and 82 at-bats, and Johnny Oates. And Marty Perez overachieved. Baker hit his number. Dave Johnson is right around his stuff. Aaron has the same homer and RBI virtually, though the average is down. The only underachievers are Rico Carty and Darrell Evans, and I could live with that. At least Evans has the 8 home runs. You see the on base up to 353. They're hitting 289. Net runs 281, 245. So this is a more solid team that finished 30-22. Did much better in the LCS against Cincinnati after vanquishing those Cincinnati Reds who thumped them a year prior. Pitching. Tom House, same kind of year. 12 saves and a 150-something earned run average. Capra does his thing, and ERA is even lower, 274. Nico is back with a winning record, 8-7, only 1 complete game, 4.23 ERA. That's the problem with this team. Same ERA a year ago. Right around 4-ish. That's just not going to cut it in our sport, really, to win a World Series at least. And they were 2 games away from getting to a World Series. Really weird year for Mike Beard. A very nice 1975 card for him got knocked around, and he was not able to join a tandem of lefties, Tom House and himself, and he bombed terribly. 5 losses. Take the Beard record out of there. They're 29-17, and who knows? You know, if he's not put in these leverage situations or he actually executes them, this team could have been in the World Series. It could simply be one guy having a horrible year in this case. I can't see that same thing happening in the offense, you know. And again, I look at Carty and Evans, and there's not much to blame there. In any event, half of that great Atlanta story will have to go away. It's the 1973, all those homers. 3 guys combining for 124 home runs, gone. Let's take a look at the 1973 guys who are going to have to go away. I'm telling you, Atlanta Brave fans out there, cover your eyes. This is kind of sad. Oh my goodness. Funny part about it is 2 of these guys are pitchers, and they're not even Atlanta pitchers. So they didn't even max out all the offense they could have. But this, Leon is a free agent. Tepedino went 304 for Atlanta. But right here, this is the heart of the offense, and their contracts are all due at the same time. Now, you could say, well, this is not any good, and so maybe you just bring all these guys back, but their numbers aren't going to be as good moving forward. So let's see what moves forward for Atlanta. It's going to be 6 hitters and 6 pitchers. Here's a nice Cardi card. He could be a DH. So there was no DH in the National League, of course, but in our league there is, so Atlanta held on to him. You have a nice platoon of catcher. We saw both these guys overachieving. This is a nice tandem. You got everything you could want, a lefty and a righty. One guy has defense, the other guy doesn't, but the other guy thumps lefties, one guy thumps righties. So that's what you want in a tandem, complementary players like that. This Cabell card, not very good at all, and frankly, I think it's due to either be released or improved with a different year. But no real reason other than he was a 3 at first base. He was defense for Tepedino. We'll call this the best Marty Perez card. He's actually better suited to be a second baseman. He had to play shortstop all year because of Davy Johnson. Let's move him to second base now. I think Davy Johnson can move to first base or third base. And this is now your star, Ralph Garr, 74, best player of the 74 offense. Could consider batting him third, ignoring the stealing, and just let him rake with the batting average, you know. Led the planet in triples all over the place. He'd be a great number 3 hitter if you didn't want to lead him off. Again, there's no walks on the card, so why lead him off? I'd bat him third moving forward. Great news is the pitching. Most of it's coming back. You got Necro and Capra in arguably their best years. And then the bullpen's coming back. Schuler was a decent long man. Here's the Mike Beard card that had a troubling year. I don't get it. Again, 25 2/3 innings, 40 hits, 27 runs allowed, ERA of 9.47. But when you look at the numbers, you know, he's a good pitcher. So maybe he gets a break next year and he overachieves. Divine is our righty who gets righties out nicely. Don't have to worry about him too much on that side. 3.21 ERA. And here's Tom House in his final year. So Capper, Necro, and House are the big 3 of this team. So the pitching could be better next year. The hitting, probably it'll be worse. With that, let's take a look at Atlanta and see who they decide to keep, waive, and retire. All right, we're going to begin this with Hank Aaron, Hall of Famer, voted 406 of 415, voted him in, wasn't unanimous. 9 human beings on planet Earth did not. As we know, not all human beings on Earth have brains in their skulls, which is why he's not 415 out of 415. Hopefully those individuals had brains inserted into their skull caps. But anyway, 73 Aaron, 301, 1045, and now he's going to turn 40. But of all the guys who turned 40 in these recent times, with the Willie Mazes and the Ernie Bankses and stuff, I mean, he still has decent numbers. Billy Williams is approaching this as well. You know, he's got a 268, 832, and 74. That'll play. 75 and 76 may play in a platoon. against lefties only, maybe. We'll have to see. We got time for that. But they'll bring back 74, 40-year-old Hank Aaron to Hotlanta. All right. Next up, Johnny Baker. Johnny B. Baker. Dusty, a.k.a. How many Dusties are there? So, he is going to end up with the Dodgers in 76. If I'm Atlanta, I hold on to him as long as I possibly can. The numbers are still good next couple years. They actually dip for the Dodgers, and then they go crazy when they go to the World Series in 77. So, oh yeah, I got to hold on to him. It's going to, hopefully he's still got good defense in center field in one of these years. But he's coming back. Johnny Baker. Johnny Baker's coming back to the Braves. Next up, Darrell Evans. Eventually he goes to the Giants and Tigers, but he's still going to be with Hotlanta. See, you have all the hats? He's got 2 of the hats. Weird he doesn't have the Tiger hat here, but... Okay, he's with the Braves through 76. And next year, he's going to lead the league in walks again. He's got an 800 OPS as a third baseman. What's not to like? Average dips, but so what? Giants could snipe him, but no. Atlanta's like, no, you're not getting our guy. Hey, Atlanta's thinking about running this back. Knowing that the offense is going to take a little dip, but they got the great pitching. So maybe you got to replace these 2 guys. Maybe you get some studs. Maybe you find a dominant lefty like a John Matlack-ish or Mike Cuellar-ish kind of guy, a Kenny Holtzman type of guy. You find that lefty in the 3-hole here. Maybe in the draft or in a trade. But in any event, that's what they have to pin their hopes on in an attempt to get back to where they just were. Now here is a really, really interesting Davey Johnson situation. And you got to take a look at this. This is a very intriguing part of the off-season plan because, okay, so here's 73. He arrives in Atlanta at age 30. He left his glove in Baltimore, but he brought a couple bats with him. 43 home runs. He never had 20. He had 18 once. Okay. In 74, the numbers dipped to 748 OPS. I can certainly live with that. That's the card to take, you would think. However, there's an outlier here, folks. The 77 Davey Johnson card. He's a Philly. He's got a freak card hitting 321 with a 952 OPS, and he can play first, second, and third. Do the Braves snipe that card away from Philadelphia? Now, the way you have to look at this is, how much would Philadelphia pay to make sure they get their guy? Do the Phillies really need a 1977 Davey Johnson card? Or do the Braves need it more? And do the Braves say, well, we could go with a 74 card, but we have an opportunity to get this? We've seen that in our sport. Players linger longer with the present team by sniping the future team's card. And then the future team, once they get that player, they hold on to them longer as well. We saw that a little bit with, I believe, Fergie Jenkins in the Cubs. He stayed there longer than he should have. So maybe that's what Atlanta does. I'm of that opinion, folks. It's the National League East. You got to remember, back in the 1970s, Atlanta was in the West and the Phillies were in the East. This is the best way to compete against the Phillies. And frankly, the Phillies should be at the top of the division. And there you are. I would say this is it. Do it this way. Next up, let's just complete this process. Eddie Leon was simply a defensive shortstop. We can see if he gets waivers or not. He may get waivers. Longtime Cleveland Indian, played for the White Sox a little bit. In 74, they don't make this card for the White Sox. Hits 109 anyway. So we're going to retire Eddie Leon. All right. And the last hitter is Frank Tepedino. Yeah, we can call him a one-hit wonder. Sure. Had a great year in 73. You know, the funny part about it is, because of all the star power in Atlanta, they batted him 7th or 8th last year, figuring that, well, I know his card hits 304, but it's Frank Tepedino. I mean, he really shouldn't be near the top of the lineup with all the stars. But what did we do this year? We batted him 3rd all year long, simply because we sandwiched him between Dusty Baker and Hank Aaron. Got a left-handed bat in there. So Gar was at 1, he was at 3, and Darrell Evans at 5. So they were alternating lefty-righty, and Tepedino bloomed with Hank Aaron batting behind him. Of course, it's not, you know, here's the year, 773. The card in 74 does exist with Atlanta. We can check that by going to the roster sheet for 74 and seeing if that exists. But it should exist in 74. If it does exist, that gives him waivers. So we'll go to Atlanta. And there's Tepedino right there. So he gets waivers. Next up. All right, the two pitchers. Stone and Grief. George Stone. Nice, interesting, sort of. You need to talk about George Stone to correctly document the New York Mets of the early 70s. It was George Stone who broke Rusty Staub's arm with a hit by pitch in 72, I think it was, and then he's with the Mets in 73. A weird sort of finish. The Mets were actually good in 72, then faded. A weird sort of history. I guess I could take a deep dive on this one, couldn't I? Yeah, let me go to the Mets of 72 for a second. Let's take a deep dive, folks. We got nothing better to do, right? That's the whole fun of this thing. Going back into history. Let's go to the 72 Mets for a second. Because I think they were red hot and then they folded up. If I'm not mistaken. Oh, look at those wins. Yep. Yeah. So they're in first place July 1st. Okay. But then they have a struggle and they drop second into third. Okay. And one of the reasons they faded was because of Staub, Rusty Staub here. Let's see. Let's take a look at him in 72. .293, but just 278 plate appearances. So when we look at Rusty's game log of 1972, here we go. His game log goes through June. And here's the game, one of these games against Atlanta, right here. He gets plunked with a pitch. And then he plays 3 more games, misses a month, comes back for a game, and comes back in September. And by then, the Mets are out of the race. That's because George Stone hit him with a pitch. So that's a kind of a fun little dive there. Now back to George Stone. So I guess those guys made up in the dugout in 73. So you see Stone in 72. He was not very good. He goes to the Mets, and now he's on the same team with Tom Seaver, John Matlack, Jerry Koosman. And this is a card we just used, and look how good it was. 20 starts, a 2.80 ERA, and a 1.27 WHIP. So surrounding this great year in New York are a couple lousy years. Every year with an ERA over 5. Now, he can get waivers in 74 if his card exists. Should with the Mets. Let's go see if the Mets Stone card exists. Oh, I don't know if it exists or not. New York Mets. George Stone. Nope. Extra pitchers for the Mets. Nope. How about a nameless card for George Stone? No. So they didn't make this card. It wasn't a very good card anyway, but it was left-handed. So we lose a left-handed pitcher in our league, which isn't good. So I got to put him on the retirement list. That's a shame. He threw 77 innings. If I am guessing, the creators understood that the Mets already had enough left-handers with Matlack, Kuzman, and probably somebody else. They didn't need a third starting pitcher to be written into their roster sheet. So that's probably one reason why they didn't make a 74 George Stone with the Mets. Okay, he's got to be retired then. No biggie, folks, no biggie. And lastly, Bill Grief. He was Bill Goodgrief in the game you saw. He won Game 5, one of the 2 wins that the Braves had in the LCS. And for that, he will be cut going into next year. Here we are. I think we just used his best card. Yeah, 73. $1.21 whip. Okay, so next year with the Padres, what happens is they make him an innings eater, but those innings aren't good anymore. It's a 4.66 ERA for a right-handed starting pitcher who loses 19 games with a 150 whip. Woof. Leads the league in hit by pitches, too, which isn't going to show up on his card, but yeah. So that card definitely exists, and they certainly don't want it. Padres, you're welcome to have him back. And that not much is going to go right after that for Bill. So we may have just seen the best Bill Grief moment, winning a National League Championship Series game as a free agent for the Atlanta Braves. That's a cool little story in its own. Bill Grief will go on waivers. And when all is said and done, Atlanta is perfectly comported to set up for the draft next year. If they wanted to sit out the offseason, they could. They've got exactly what you need. 4 keepers, 2 waivers, and 2 retires. And this is exactly the correct number we look for all the teams. If you're wondering about this number, it's 4 times 10,000, 2 times 100, and 2. And it's 40,202. Moreover, if you just draw a line where the zeros are, and the line there, this is the quick way of understanding how many guys you want to keep, how many guys you want to put on waivers, and how many guys you want to retire. And that's the correct way that all the teams in the draft have to do this. So Atlanta is set up to start drafting, but everybody else, Mets, nope, Phillies, Cubs, Reds. You see, other teams still have work to do to get to that proper math. We go all the way back up top. 30 teams are now eliminated. Nothing has changed here because Atlanta ended their analysis properly. So there was not an increase or decrease in any of the keeper waive retirement numbers. We're still at plus 18, which is fantastic. 18 quality players that'll go on the waiver wire. The worst 5 waived players will go on the retirement list. So this is finally some nice talent available on waivers in the draft for next year. With 2 teams left to go, the Chicago White Sox and the LA Dodgers will be playing in the World Series. That's it today. Thanks for checking out this Eliminating the Atlanta Braves video. We'll see you next time.